Young widow Mara Bennett came to Seattle with $73 and her mother's old journal, hoping a kitchen job would change her life. But just minutes before her interview, she saw a little girl standing alone as a wooden beam fell from a passing truck. Without hesitation, Mara ran forward, shielding the child. The beam crashed beside them, injuring her arm and tearing her only good shirt. But when the girl's mother arrived, what happened next was beyond anything Mara could have imagined. Before we dive in this story, let us know where you're watching from. We love to hear your thought. The morning fog wrapped around Millbrook, Oregon like a farewell embrace. Mara Bennett stood on the porch of her childhood home for the last time, her canvas bag at her feet, her father's watch in her pocket. 27 years old. Widowed at 22. An orphan at 27. Inside, the empty rooms echoed with ghosts. She'd sold everything: the furniture, her father's tools, her mother's china. All that remained were memories and the weight of 5 years spent watching the people she loved slip away. She walked through the house one final time, her footsteps hollow on the hardwood floor. In the living room, she paused at the mantel where her father's photograph stood between two flickering candles. He looked strong in the picture, taken before the cancer, before the long nights, before the slow goodbye. "I'm leaving now, Dad," she whispered, touching the frame. "I'm going to try." Next to his photo sat her mother's journal, leather-bound, worn at the edges. Her mother had died when Mara was 12, but the journal survived. Mara opened it to the page she'd read 1,000 times. "If you live kindly, life will find a way back to you." Her mother had written those words the year before she died. Mara had spent 15 years trying to understand them, and the last 5 wondering if they were true. She closed the journal and packed it carefully in her bag, along with a change of clothes and $73, everything she had left in the world. The bus station was 3 blocks away. Mrs. Patterson was watering her roses. Mr. Chen was opening his hardware store. They waved, and Mara waved back, but she didn't stop. She couldn't bear to explain again. The bus to Seattle was already running, exhaling diesel into the cool morning air. Mara climbed aboard, found a window seat, and pressed her forehead against the glass as Millbrook disappeared behind her. The highway stretched north through farmland and forest, past mountains she'd only seen from a distance. Mara thought about the last 5 years, married at 21, widowed a year later when Daniel's car wrapped around a tree on a wet road. Then her father got sick, and she'd spent 4 years watching him fade the same way her mother had. She'd lost her job at the diner, too many missed shifts, couldn't smile at customers anymore. The bills kept coming, friends stopped calling, everything unraveled. Now there was nothing left but the road ahead, and a job posting she'd found online. Kitchen staff needed at Harbor Haven Senior Living. No experience required. Apply in person. Mara pulled out her mother's journal again, running her fingers over the words. "If you live kindly, life will find a way back to you. Maybe kindness is all I've ever had," she murmured, watching trees blur past the window. "And maybe that's enough." She didn't know if she believed it, but it was all she had to hold on to. The bus drove on, carrying her towards Seattle, towards something she couldn't yet see. Outside, the sun broke through the clouds, casting golden light through the forest. For the first time in weeks, Mara felt something that might have been hope, fragile and small, but there. She held onto it with both hands. Seattle hit Mara like a wall of sound. Car horns, sirens, music blasting from storefronts, people shouting into phones, rushing past without looking. The air smelled of exhaust and fried food and something vaguely sweet. Billboards blazed everywhere. Mara stood on the sidewalk, clutching her bag, feeling suddenly very small. The boarding house was in Fremont, Mrs. Kowalski's place, wedged between a tattoo parlor and a laundromat. The landlady was a woman in her 70s with iron gray hair and sharp eyes, 70 a week. First week up front, the room was tiny, barely 10 feet square, with a narrow bed, chip dresser, and a window that looked onto a brick wall. The wallpaper was peeling, the radiator clanked, but it was clean, it was hers. Mara paid, watching her savings dwindle to almost nothing. That evening, she prepared for tomorrow's interview. She ironed her only good blouse, practiced in front of the cracked mirror. "My name is Mara Bennett. I may not have degrees, but I have heart and hands that never stop trying. She said it again, trying to sound confident instead of desperate. I may not have degrees, but I have heart and hands that never stop trying. Better. Sleep didn't come easy. The city was too loud, sirens, shouting, the constant hum of traffic. In Millbrook, the only sound at night had been crickets. Mara curled under the thin blanket, thinking about her father, her mother, the life she'd left behind. If you live kindly, life will find a way back to you. She hoped so. The next morning, Mara dressed carefully and left early. Harbor Haven was a 30-minute walk, and she wanted time to find it, time to calm her nerves. The streets were already crowded, coffee shops overflowing, construction sites where workers shouted over jackhammers, the smell of roasting chestnuts from a vendor's cart. She was so focused on navigating that she almost missed the little girl. But then she heard it, a small choked sob. Mara stopped and turned. In front of a bakery, with a cheerful striped awning, stood a child, maybe 6 years old, with dark curls and a pink jacket. In her arms, she clutched a stuffed cat, gray threadbare, one ear hanging by a thread. The little girl was crying. Mara glanced around for a parent, but the sidewalk was crowded with strangers, all moving past without a glance. No one was stopping. Mara's heart clenched. She checked her watch. 8:40. 20 minutes to get to Harbor Haven. If she stopped now, she'd be late. But she looked at the little girl, small and scared and alone, and the decision wasn't really a decision at all. Mara knelt down. "Hey there, sweetheart. Are you okay?" The girl looked up, eyes wide and red. "I can't find my mommy." "Oh honey, what's your name?" "Ella." "Ella, that's beautiful. I'm Mara." She smiled gently. "Let's find your mommy, okay?" Ella nodded, sniffling. "Do you know where your mommy works?" Ella thought for a moment. "She works at the place with the old people." Mara's heart skipped. Harbor Haven. Yes. Ella's face brightened. "That's it." Mara glanced at her watch again. 8:45. She'd definitely be late now. Maybe too late, but Ella was looking up at her with those wide, trusting eyes. "Okay, Ella," Mara said, taking the little girl's hand. "I know where that is. I'll take you there." "Thank you," Ella whispered. They started walking, Ella's small hand warm in Mara's. The sidewalks were crowded, and Mara navigated carefully, keeping Ella close. She kept up a gentle conversation, trying to keep the girl calm. "That's a very nice cat you have. What's her name?" "Mittens." "She's my favorite. Mittens is a perfect name." They were crossing an intersection near a construction site when it happened. The intersection was busy, cars waiting, pedestrians crossing. Mara held Ella's hand tightly as they stepped off the curb. The construction site was to their right, scaffolding, orange fences, workers in hard hats. A delivery truck sat at the curb, its back gate open, wooden planks visible inside. They were halfway across when Mara heard it. A shout, sharp and urgent. "Hey, watch out." Her head snapped up. The truck lurched forward. The driver had started moving before securing the back gate. The planks shifted, tilted, and then they were falling. Time slowed. Mara saw the planks tumbling from the truck bed, heavy, dark, falling toward the street, toward them, toward Ella, frozen in confusion, her small face turned up. Mara didn't think. She lunged forward, wrapping both arms around Ella, and throwing them sideways. She twisted as they fell, taking the impact on her own shoulder and hip. They hit the pavement hard. Pain exploded through Mara's body, shoulder, elbow, hip, knee. The world spun. The breath left her lungs. The plank crashed down beside them. It hit the asphalt with a deafening crack, splintering on impact. Wood shards flew. Dust billowed. Someone screamed. Brakes screeched. The truck jerked to a halt. For a moment, Mara couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Then she felt Ella moving beneath her, and clarity returned like lightning. "Ella?" Mara gasped, pushing herself up. "Are you hurt?" Ella was crying, but she shook her head. "I'm okay. I'm okay. Oh, thank God." Mara pulled the girl close, cradling her head, her heart hammering. Chaos erupted around them. The truck driver jumped out, face white, hands shaking. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." A woman in a business suit was on her phone. Yes, there's been an accident. A crowd gathered. People staring, pointing, talking. Mara ignored them all. She focused on Ella, checking her over, running her hands over the girl's arms and legs. Does anything hurt? Ella shook her head, still crying. You saved me. Mara let out a shaky breath. Yeah, I guess I did. She tried to stand, but pain shot through her left side and she gasped. Someone caught her, a man in a construction vest. Easy, you're hurt, just sit. I'm fine, Mara said automatically, but her voice was weak. She looked down at herself, blouse torn at the shoulder and elbow, dark with blood, hands scraped raw, pants ripped at the knee. Ma'am, you need medical attention, the construction worker said. The ambulance is coming. No, Mara shook her head. I can't. I don't have insurance. You just saved that little girl's life, the woman with the phone said. You're a hero. Mara wasn't listening. She looked at Ella, who was clinging to her hand. It's okay, Mara said softly, kneeling despite the pain. You're safe now, that's all that matters. Ella threw her arms around Mara's neck. Thank you. Mara held her, ignoring the pain, ignoring everything except this small precious life. After a moment she pulled back gently. Come on, sweetheart, let's get you to your mom, but you're hurt. I'll be okay. Your mom is probably so worried. The construction worker stepped forward. Ma'am, let me call you a cab. You shouldn't walk. I don't have money. My treat. After what you just did, it's the least I can do. Before Mara could protest, he was making the call. Mara spotted a small cafe across the street, and led Ella toward it. Inside she found a booth in the back. A waitress appeared. You two okay? I saw what happened. We're fine. Could we get a hot chocolate and a muffin? For her, of course. And water for you. That would be great. When the hot chocolate arrived, Mara pushed it across to Ella. She pulled out her wallet. $23 left. She handed over a $5. Ella took a sip, leaving a whipped cream mustache. For the first time since Mara found her, the girl smiled. This is really good. Good. Drink up. Mara checked her watch. 9:15. She'd missed the interview entirely. The job was gone, but she looked at Ella, safe, warm, drinking her cocoa, and she couldn't regret it. Some things were more important than jobs, like choosing kindness, even when it cost you everything. She pulled out her mother's journal, miraculously intact. She read the familiar words, if you live kindly, life will find a way back to you. She hoped so, because right now, she had $18 and no job, but she'd done the right thing. And maybe, somehow, that would be enough. Ella, Mara said gently, you said your mom works at Harbor Haven. What's her name? Helen. Helen Ward. She's the boss. Mara's breath caught. Helen Ward, the director. The woman she was supposed to interview with. The woman whose daughter she had just saved. Oh, Mara breathed. The cab arrived. Together they drove to Harbor Haven. Harbor Haven was a beautiful brick building with large windows and manicured gardens. The sign read Harbor Haven, Senior Living Community, in elegant script. Mara helped Ella out of the cab, and together they walked to the entrance. Each step sent pain through Mara's hip, but she kept moving. The lobby was warm and inviting, wood paneling, comfortable seating, artwork on the walls. Behind a desk sat a security guard, whose name tag read Marcus. Excuse me, Mara approached. This is Marcus's eyes widened. He stood so quickly his chair rolled back. Ella? He grabbed his radio. Mrs. Ward, this is Marcus. I have Ella. She's safe. The radio crackled. Then a woman's voice, strained with panic. What? I'm coming down. I'm coming right now. Then footsteps, running footsteps, fast and desperate. A woman burst through the double doors. She was in her early 40s, burgundy blazer, auburn hair in a neat bun. Though strands had come loose, she had the presence of someone who commanded attention. Strong, confident, capable. But right now, her face was wild with fear, eyes red, body trembling. Ella? She cried out, voice breaking. Mommy! Ella let go of Mara's hand and ran. Helen Ward dropped to her knees and caught her daughter, wrapping her arms around her and pulling her close. She was crying, body shaking with sobs. Oh my God, baby, where were you? I was so scared. I'm sorry, Mommy. I saw a puppy and got lost. It's okay, baby. You're safe. You're safe. Helen pulled back, hands cupping Ella's face. Are you hurt? I'm okay. Mara found me. She took care of me. Helen looked up for the first time, gaze sweeping the lobby until it landed on Mara. Mara stood there, painfully aware of how she looked, disheveled, bloody, torn clothes. Helen slowly stood, keeping one hand on Ella's shoulder. She stared at Mara, taking in the torn blouse, the scraped hands, the blood. You found her? Yes, ma'am. She was lost downtown. She said her mother worked here, so I brought her. Helen's eyes filled with tears. She stepped forward until she stood directly in front of Mara. You brought her all the way here. I couldn't leave her alone. You're hurt. Helen reached out, fingers hovering near the tear in Mara's sleeve. What happened? An accident. Lumber fell from a truck. I just made sure Ella didn't get hit. You saved her. Helen's voice dropped to barely a whisper. You saved my daughter. I just did what anyone would do. Helen shook her head fiercely. Her voice broke. You saved my world. Mara's throat tightened. I'm just glad she's okay. Helen stepped forward and took both of Mara's hands carefully. I don't know how to thank you. I don't even know your name. Mara Bennett. Helen's brow furrowed. Mara Bennett. I feel like I should know that name. Mara took a breath. I was supposed to interview with you this morning, for the kitchen position, at 9 o'clock. Helen's eyes widened, surprise softening quickly into something more tender. You had an interview with me? Yes, ma'am. I'm so sorry I missed it. I couldn't just leave Ella. Helen shook her head lightly, a faint incredulous smile tugging at her lips. You missed your interview, because you were helping my daughter. Yes, ma'am. Helen's gaze lingered on Mara for a moment before she turned to Ella, crouching slightly. Sweetheart, did Mara take care of you? Ella nodded eagerly. She bought me hot chocolate, and she saved me from the big wood. She pushed me and got hurt. Her little voice quivered. She saved me, Mommy. Helen drew in a slow breath, her eyes glistening. She reached out and brushed a lock of hair from Ella's face, then looked back at Mara. Really looked this time. You're hurt, she said softly. Please come with me. Let's get those cleaned up, all right? Oh, that's not necessary. Helen offered a gentle smile. It is, Mara. You helped my little girl. Let me help you. Just a little. For a moment, Mara hesitated, but the sincerity in Helen's tone left no room for protest. Okay, she murmured. Thank you, Helen said quietly, her voice warm and steady. She took Ella's hand, then looked to Mara with a small nod. Come on, we'll take care of you. The hallways were wide and bright, with large windows and calming colors, sage green, pale yellow, warm cream. Artwork hung everywhere. Comfortable chairs created cozy nooks. They passed a large common room, where elderly residents gathered, some reading, others working puzzles, a few watching TV. Piano music drifted from somewhere. This is beautiful, Mara said softly. Helen glanced back. Thank you. We try to make it feel like home. They reached a door marked Helen Ward, Director. Helen unlocked it and ushered them inside. The office was spacious but not ostentatious. A large desk near the window, bookshelves filled with binders, photographs on the walls, Ella at various ages, Helen with older people, who must be her parents, group photos of staff and residents, a small seating area in one corner, couch and chairs around a coffee table. Helen guided Mara to the couch. Sit down, please. Mara sat wincing. Helen pulled a chair closer and sat facing her, Ella climbing into her lap. Tell me exactly what happened. Everything. So Mara did, finding Ella crying, deciding to help despite missing the interview. The walk, the truck, the falling lumber, the moment of instinct when she'd thrown them both clear. She told it calmly, as if it were the most natural thing. When she finished, Helen was quiet. She held Ella close, eyes never leaving Mara's face. You could have been killed, Helen finally said. But I wasn't, and neither was Ella. That's what matters. You didn't even know she was my daughter. She was a scared little girl who needed help, Mara said simply. That's all I needed to know. Helen's eyes filled with tears. I don't meet many people like you, Mara. A knock. Marcus entered with the first aid kit, followed by an elderly man with glasses, Dr. Patterson. For 15 minutes, the doctor cleaned and bandaged Mara's wounds. The cuts weren't deep, her shoulder and hip were badly bruised but not broken. He recommended ice and ibuprofen. "You're lucky," he said. "Could have been much worse." "I know, thank you." When he left, Helen went to her desk, pulled out ibuprofen and water, brought them to Mara. "Take these." Mara did, swallowing them gratefully. Helen sat back down. Ella settled in her lap. For a long moment, she just looked at Mara. Then she said, "You were supposed to interview for the kitchen position." "Yes, ma'am." "Tell me about yourself." Mara blinked, surprised. You still want to interview me?" "I want to know who you are." So Mara told her, about Millbrook, about the diner, about losing Daniel, caring for her father, the long years of grief, about arriving in Seattle yesterday, with almost no money and desperate need for work. She told the truth, all of it. When she finished, Helen was quiet. She looked down at Ella, who'd fallen asleep in her arms, then back at Mara. "I'm going to be honest, Mara. I had 6 interviews scheduled today. 5 have impressive resumes, culinary degrees, years of experience, glowing references." She paused. "You don't have any of that." Mara's heart sank. "I understand, but you know what they don't have," Helen continued. "Heart. The kind of character that makes someone sacrifice their future to help a stranger. The courage to throw themselves in front of danger, to save a child they've never met." Mara stared, not daring to hope. "This morning, you showed me more about who you are than any resume could," Helen said. "You showed me you lead with compassion, that you put others first, that when it matters, you do the right thing, no matter the cost." She leaned forward, eyes bright and determined. "The position is yours, Mara, if you still want it." Mara couldn't speak. Her eyes filled with tears. Her voice cracked. "I don't know what to say." "Say yes," Helen said gently. "Say you'll bring that heart of yours here, and help me make this place special." Mara looked at Helen. This woman offering trust, offering a chance. Her mother had been right. If you live kindly, life will find a way back to you. "Yes," Mara whispered, tears streaming down her face. "Yes, thank you." Helen smiled, radiant, transforming her face. "No, Mara, thank you. You gave me back my daughter. I'm just giving you a job." "It's more than that," Mara said. "It's hope. It's a future. It's everything." Helen squeezed Mara's hand. "Then welcome to Harbor Haven." Mara started work. 3 days later, after Helen insisted she rest and recover. Those 3 days felt like a dream. Helen had given her an advance, enough for another month's rent and groceries. Mara spent the time resting, icing her bruises, reading the employee handbook. On her first day she arrived at 6 a.m. Dressed in the white shirt and black pants Helen had specified. Her wounds had healed enough that she could move without too much pain. Marcus greeted her warmly. "Welcome back, Miss Bennett. Please call me Mara. Then call me Marcus. We're all family here." Helen met her in the lobby and gave her a tour. The dining room overlooking gardens, common rooms for activities, the library, the courtyard, with stone pathways and flowering trees, and finally the kitchen. It was professional, stainless steel appliances, multiple prep stations, walk-in refrigerators, enough space for several people to work, everything spotlessly clean, organized with precision. A woman stood at a prep station, chopping vegetables with quick, efficient movements. Late 30s, dark hair, in a tight bun, sharp features set in permanent concentration. Chef's whites, with rolled-up sleeves. She looked up, dark eyes assessing. "Clara," Helen said warmly. "This is Mara Bennett. She's joining us as kitchen staff." "Mara, this is Clara Barnes, our head chef." Clara set down her knife, wiped her hands and walked over. Her gaze never left Mara's face. "So you're the one Mrs. Ward hired on the spot," Clara said. Her tone wasn't hostile but it wasn't friendly. Flat, neutral, assessing. "Yes," Mara said, extending her hand. "It's nice to meet you." Clara looked at Mara's hand, before shaking it briefly. Her grip was firm, almost aggressive. "Helen tells me you have diner experience. 5 years in Oregon." "This isn't a diner." Clara's voice was clipped. We're cooking for elderly people with specific dietary needs. We follow nutritionist guidelines, portion control, strict safety standards. I understand. I'm here to learn. Clara's eyes narrowed. Must be nice to skip the line. Most of us had to interview properly, provide references, background checks. Helen's voice held a warning. I'm just saying. Clara turned back to her station. We all had to earn our places. Some of us have been working here for years. Awkward silence. Mara kept her voice calm. I'm not here to take anyone's place. I'm just here to work, to help however I can. Clara didn't respond. She picked up her knife and resumed chopping, the blade hitting the board in sharp strikes. Helen gave Mara an apologetic look and guided her to another area, where 2 other staff were working. This is Sam. Helen introduced a man in his 50s with a weathered face and kind eyes washing dishes, and Linda, a woman in her 40s with graying hair and a warm smile, preparing oatmeal. Both greeted Mara with genuine friendliness. Sam's been here 8 years, Helen said. Linda for 6, they'll help you learn. Happy to help, Linda said. Don't mind Clara. She takes her work seriously. I understand, Mara said, though she felt Clara's eyes on her back watching, judging. Helen left Mara in Linda's capable hands. The first hours were overwhelming. Mara had to learn breakfast routines, which residents needed pureed food, who was diabetic, who had allergies, who needed encouragement to eat. She learned the kitchen's organization, where everything was stored, how to use the equipment. But she absorbed it all, asking questions, taking mental notes, never complaining. By mid-morning, she helped Sam with dishes. Familiar, mindless, soothing. Sam whistled while he worked. You're doing good, Sam said. First days are hard. You're keeping up fine. Thank you. Everyone's been kind. Well, most everyone. Sam chuckled. Clara, don't take it personal. She's been head chef 3 years, takes pride in running a tight ship. She doesn't like change. I'm not trying to change anything. I know, just keep your head down, do good work, let your actions speak. Good advice. Mara took it to heart. Lunch prep was intense. Mara chopped vegetables for soup, carrots, celery, onions, potatoes. Her knife skills weren't as fast as Clara's, but they were competent. She worked methodically, carefully. Clara walked by several times, glancing at Mara's work but saying nothing. When it was time to serve lunch, Mara helped carry trays to the dining room. That's when she really saw the residents. Mrs. Callahan, tiny with white hair and blue eyes, who complained cheerfully. Mr. Ortiz, quiet and dignified. Mrs. Chen, who always wanted to chat about grandchildren. Mr. Hayes, who sat by the window and never spoke. Mara noticed Mr. Hayes especially, tall and thin, probably 80, with wispy white hair and impossibly sad eyes. His tray sat untouched, and he stared out the window as if somewhere far away. Mr. Hayes doesn't eat much, Linda said quietly. Ever since his wife died, we try to encourage him, but, she shrugged helplessly. Mara's heart ached. After lunch, Clara finally spoke directly to Mara. You're slow, your knife work is adequate but inefficient, and you didn't label the soup stock properly. I'm sorry, I'll do better. See that you do. We can't afford mistakes. These people depend on us. I understand. Clara studied her, expression unreadable, then turned away. Finish the dishes, then help Linda with dinner prep. Not praise, but not dismissal. Mara took it as a small victory. Days developed a rhythm. Mara arrived early, stayed late, absorbed everything. She memorized residents' names and preferences, perfected her knife skills. Helped wherever needed, washing extra dishes when Sam's back hurt, staying late to help Linda prep, cleaning areas that weren't her responsibility. She never complained, never asked for special treatment, she just worked. Slowly, people warmed to her. Sam saved easy tasks when her shoulder bothered her. Linda shared gossip about residents. Marcus chatted with her each morning, but Clara remained cold, not hostile, but distant, watchful, as if waiting for Mara to prove she didn't belong. Mara didn't let it discourage her. She remembered Sam's words, let your actions speak, so she worked, and waited. The moment that changed everything happened on a Thursday afternoon, 2 weeks after Mara started. Between lunch and dinner prep, Mara had finished early and was wiping prep stations when Helen appeared. Mara, do you have a moment? Of course. Helen led her to the dining room, where Mr. Hayes sat in his usual spot. His lunch tray sat completely untouched. The food had gone cold. He hasn't eaten in 2 days, Helen said quietly. We're getting worried. I've tried talking, the nurses tried, even Dr. Patterson, but he won't engage. She looked at Mara. I know it's not your job, but you have such a gentle way. Would you try? Mara looked at Mr. Hayes, sad, lonely, having lost his wife and seemingly his will to live. I'll try, she said. Helen squeezed her shoulder. Thank you. Mara approached slowly, pulling out the chair across from him. Mr. Hayes, my name is Mara. Mind if I sit? He didn't respond. Didn't look at her. Mara sat anyway. She looked at his tray: chicken, mashed potatoes, green beans. Good food, carefully prepared. Wasted. You know, Mara said softly. I understand not being hungry. After my husband died, I didn't eat for days. Food tasted like cardboard, like nothing mattered. Still no response, but something in his posture shifted. He was listening. Everyone kept telling me I had to eat, but I didn't want to. What was the point? The person I loved was gone. Mr. Hayes's hand, resting on the table, clenched slightly. But then I realized something. My husband wouldn't have wanted me to stop living. He would have wanted me to keep going, to find joy again. Because the love we shared, it didn't die with him. It's still here. She touched her heart, and the best way to honor that love is to keep living. Mr. Hayes's eyes filled with tears. One spilled over. Mara reached across and gently touched his hand. Your wife loved you. I can see it in how you miss her, and I bet she'd want you to eat, to take care of yourself. For a long moment, silence. Then in a voice rough with disuse, I don't know how. One bite at a time, Mara said gently. Just one bite. She went to the kitchen, returned with a fresh warm tray, set it in front of him. Then softly, she began to sing. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. Mr. Hayes looked up, surprise on his face. You make me happy when skies are gray. His hand reached for the fork. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. He took a bite of mashed potatoes, then another. Please don't take my sunshine away. By the time she finished, Mr. Hayes had eaten half his plate. A tear rolled down his cheek, but he was smiling. Just a little. Thank you, he whispered. You're welcome, Mr. Hayes. She sat with him while he finished, just being present, just being kind. When she stood to leave, Mr. Hayes looked up. Will you come back tomorrow? I'll be here, Mara promised. As she pushed through the kitchen door, she nearly collided with Clara, who was standing just inside, partially hidden by a supply rack. Clara's face was strange, not angry, not cold, but something raw and unguarded. She'd been watching, she'd seen everything. Their eyes met, then Clara turned away, abruptly. Get back to work, she said, but her voice lacked its usual edge. That evening, as Mara prepared to leave, Helen caught her in the hallway. What you did today with Mr. Hayes, Helen said, voice warm with emotion. Linda told me. She said she's never seen him respond to anyone like that. I just talked to him. Sometimes people just need someone to see them. You have a gift, Mara. You make this place feel less like an institution, and more like a home. Walking back to her boarding house that night, body tired but spirit lighter than it had been in years, Mara thought about Mr. Hayes, about the way his face had transformed when she sang, about the power of simple kindness. Maybe her mother had been right all along. The next day, Ella was waiting in the lobby. Mara, the little girl, squealed, running over and throwing her arms around Mara's waist. Mara laughed, kneeling to hug her properly. Ella, what are you doing here so early? Mommy had an early meeting. She said I could visit you. Well, I'm glad. Want to see the kitchen? I can get you breakfast. They walked together, Ella chattering about school and friends and a new book. In the kitchen, Mara made her scrambled eggs and toast, and Ella sat at a prep station, swinging her legs happily. Clara was already there, prepping. She glanced at Ella, then at Mara, and something complicated crossed her face, something that might have been longing or sadness. It was gone quickly. Morning, Clara, Mara said pleasantly. Clara nodded stiffly. Morning. Then after a pause, the eggs need more salt. It was such normal feedback, the kind a chef would give any line cook, that it took Mara a moment to realize what it meant. Clara was treating her like a real member of the team. It was a start. 3 weeks into her job, Mara began to notice the whispers, conversations that stopped when she entered, glances exchanged when she passed, the subtle shift that told her she was being talked about. At first Mara tried to ignore it, but this felt different, more pointed. It was Linda who finally told her. They were in the walk-in refrigerator, organizing supplies, when Linda said quietly, "Mara, there's talk about you and Helen." Mara looked up. "What kind of talk?" Linda hesitated. "Some people are saying you only got hired because you saved Ella, that you're getting special treatment." She looked miserable. "I don't believe it, but I thought you should know." Mara felt something cold in her stomach. "Who's saying this?" Linda shook her head. "It doesn't matter, just be careful." But Mara already knew. Over the next days, the kitchen grew tense. Clara's coldness, which had been thawing, returned with vengeance. She criticized Mara constantly, vegetables not chopped fine enough, soup oversalted, taking too long with prep. None of it was true, but Mara didn't fight back. She kept her head down and worked. She showed up early, stayed late, did her job with quiet competence. She visited Mr. Hayes every day. He'd started eating regularly, and sometimes he'd smile when he saw her. They'd talk about his late wife, Margaret, his years as a postal worker, grandchildren he rarely saw. "You remind me of her," he told Mara one afternoon. "My Margaret, she had your kindness. That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me." These moments kept her going, as the whispers swirled. The breaking point came on a Tuesday, in late June. Lunch service. The dining room was full. Mara had helped prepare a special menu: grilled chicken, roasted vegetables, fresh garden salad with light vinaigrette. One of the residents' favorites. Mara was in the kitchen cleaning when she heard the first cough. Then another, then someone called for a nurse. She rushed to the doorway. Mrs. Callahan was bent over her plate, coughing violently. So was Mr. Ortiz. Mrs. Chen had pushed her plate away, face pale. Mr. Patterson was clutching his stomach. Within minutes, 5 residents showed symptoms: nausea, cramping, coughing. Nursing staff descended, helping residents to rooms, checking vitals, trying to determine what was wrong. Helen appeared, face grave. She surveyed the scene with calm efficiency, but Mara saw the fear beneath. Kitchen staff gathered near the door, watching with horror. "What happened?" Linda whispered. "I don't know," Sam said, face pale. Helen spoke with the head nurse, then turned toward the kitchen, jaw set. "I need all kitchen staff in my office, now." They filed into Helen's office in silence. Mara's heart pounded. She mentally reviewed everything she'd done, every step, every ingredient. She'd been so careful. Helen stood behind her desk, arms crossed. 5 residents are ill. The symptoms suggest mild food poisoning. Nothing life-threatening, thank God, but we need to investigate. She paused. What did they all eat in common? The salad, Clara said immediately. They all had the salad. Helen's eyes moved to Mara. "Mara, you prepared the salad this morning." Mara's mouth went dry. "Yes, Linda and I both worked on it, but I did most of the prep." "Walk me through it." "Every step. I washed all the greens 3 times. I checked vegetables for spoilage. I prepared the vinaigrette, using the recipe. I stored everything at proper temperature." "Did you check expiration dates on the greens?" Clara's voice cut through like a knife. "Yes, I always check dates." "Are you sure?" Clara pressed, "because the greens came in yesterday, and I remember thinking they looked questionable. I was going to check them this morning, but got pulled into a meeting." She looked at Helen. "If those greens were turning, and weren't washed properly." "I washed them," Mara said firmly, despite the fear. 3 times, and they looked fine. "But you're not trained to spot early contamination," Clara continued, tone almost sympathetic, which made it worse. "You don't have the experience." Helen held up a hand. "We're not assigning blame until we know what happened. I'll have the health department investigate." She paused, and Mara saw how much the next words cost her. "Mara, I have to suspend you temporarily, until we determine the cause." The words hit like a physical blow. "Suspend me, it's protocol. When there's a potential food safety incident, anyone involved must be suspended pending investigation. It's not personal, it's procedure. But I didn't do anything wrong." Mara heard the desperation in her voice. "I believe you," Helen said, and Mara could see she meant it. "But I have to follow protocol. I have to be fair to everyone." This is serious. Mara looked around. Sam looked sympathetic but silent. Linda wouldn't meet her eyes. Clara's expression was carefully neutral, but there was something else, something that might have been satisfaction. How long? Mara asked quietly. A few days minimum, until the health department finishes and we determine what happened. Mara nodded slowly. She felt numb. I understand. I'm sorry, Mara. I really am. Mara stood, legs unsteady. I'll get my things. She walked out in a daze, down the hallway to the kitchen. She collected her jacket, hands shaking. Everyone was watching, but no one said anything. As she passed the dining room, she saw Mr. Hayes at his usual spot. He hadn't been sick, he never ate salad. He looked up, saw her leaving. His expression shifted to confusion, then concern. He half rose, but Mara shook her head, and kept walking. She couldn't face him, couldn't face anyone. The afternoon sun was harsh. Mara stood on the sidewalk, blinking, trying to process what had happened. A month ago, she'd had nothing. Then Helen gave her a chance, and for a few weeks, she'd had hope. A job, a purpose, a place where she belonged. Now it was being taken away, and she hadn't done anything wrong. She'd been careful, but it didn't matter. She thought about the whispers, Clara's pointed questions, how the investigation immediately focused on her, despite Linda also working on the salad. This wasn't about food safety, this was about getting rid of her. Mara started walking, not sure where, just needing to move. Her vision blurred, but she blinked back tears. She wouldn't cry, not here. She was halfway down the block when she heard running footsteps. Mara, wait. She turned to see Ella running toward her, pink backpack bouncing, dark curls flying. Ella, what are you? The girl skidded to a stop, breathing hard, face flushed. Where are you going? Why are you leaving? I have to go home for a few days. There's been a problem at work. What kind of problem? It's complicated, sweetheart, but I'll be back soon. Promise. Ella's eyes filled with tears. Promise you'll come back. Mara knelt, ignoring the pain. She took Ella's small hands. I promise I'll try. That's not a real promise. Ella pulled one hand free and dug into her backpack. She pulled out something small and colorful, a bracelet made of folded paper, crafted with care, each fold precise, each color chosen deliberately. Ella held it out. I made this for you, in art class. I was going to give it to you after dinner. Mara took the bracelet carefully, surprisingly sturdy, made of construction paper strips woven together. On one side, written in careful crayon, you saved me, I believe in you. Something broke in Mara's chest, the tears she'd been holding spilled over. Oh Ella, she whispered. Don't be sad, Ella said, tears falling now too. You're good, I know you are. Whatever happened, it wasn't your fault. Mara pulled the girl into a hug, holding tight. Thank you, sweetheart, thank you so much. Ella hugged back fiercely. Come back, okay? Mr. Hayes will be sad, and Mommy, and me. I'll try. She pulled back and slipped the paper bracelet onto her wrist. It fit perfectly, bright against her skin. Now you have to come back, Ella said, sniffling. Because I made that special, and you can't break something special. Mara smiled through tears. You're right, I can't. She kissed the top of Ella's head, and stood. Go back inside, your mom will worry. Ella nodded reluctantly, and started back. After a few steps, she turned. Mara, yes, you're my sunshine, just like the song. Don't forget, okay? Mara's throat was too tight to speak. She just nodded and watched Ella run back inside. Then she turned and walked away, the paper bracelet catching the light. The walk back felt endless. Mara's mind raced, replaying the morning. She'd been so careful with the salad, but Clara's words echoed. You're not trained to spot early contamination. Was it possible she'd missed something? Was this her fault? By the time she reached her room, she was exhausted. She lay on her bed and stared at the ceiling, at the water stain that looked like a bird. Her mother's journal sat on the dresser. If you live kindly, life will find a way back to you. I've tried, Mom, Mara whispered. I've tried so hard, and it still wasn't enough. She looked at the bracelet. You saved me. I believe in you. A child believed in her. A 6-year-old had more faith than any adult. It should have been comforting. Instead it just hurt more. Mara closed her eyes and let the tears come. She cried for the job she'd lost, for the trust that was broken, for the exhausting unfairness of trying so hard, and still failing. She cried until she had no tears left, and then she slept. The next morning, Mara woke with a decision. She couldn't sit in her room waiting. She couldn't afford to, literally. She had enough money for 2 more weeks of rent, maybe 3 if careful. After that, the street. She spent the morning walking through the city, asking at restaurants if they were hiring. Most took her name but made no promises. A few didn't bother pretending they'd call. By afternoon, exhausted and discouraged, she bought a sandwich she couldn't afford, and sat on a park bench. That's when she noticed the church across the street. Old stone building, simple wooden cross above the door, a hand-painted sign, St. Mark's Community Church, all welcome. Below, free community meal, every evening, 6 p.m. volunteers, needed. Mara stared at the sign. She couldn't get paid work, but maybe she could do something useful anyway. She crossed the street, and went inside. The interior was simple but beautiful. Wooden pews, stained glass casting colored light, the smell of old books and candle wax. A woman was sweeping near the altar, humming. "Excuse me," Mara called. The woman looked up, elderly, silver hair, face lined with kindness. "Hello dear, can I help you? I saw the sign about volunteers, for the community meals." The woman's face lit up. "Wonderful, I'm Margaret. I coordinate volunteers. I'm Mara, I have kitchen experience. I'd like to help." "Bless you dear. Can you start tonight?" Mara thought about her empty room, the long evening with nothing but worry. "Yes, I can start tonight." Margaret beamed. "Perfect, come with me." The church kitchen was nothing like Harbor Haven's small, cramped, donated appliances, mismatched cookware, but clean and warm, and the people greeted Mara with genuine smiles. That evening, Mara helped prepare simple food, vegetable soup, bread, fruit, nothing fancy, but hot and nourishing. When doors opened at 6, people filed in, homeless individuals, struggling families, elderly on fixed incomes. Mara ladled soup, hands steady, heart gradually unclenching. "Thank you," each person said, some quietly, apologetically, others with warmth and genuine gratitude. "You're welcome," Mara replied, and meant it. This was what mattered, not the fancy kitchen, or professional title, or paycheck, though God knew she needed money. This, feeding people who needed feeding, showing kindness to those who needed it most. By evening's end, Mara felt lighter than she had in days. Margaret pulled her aside during cleanup. "You have a gift, Mara. The way you spoke to people, the care you showed, that can't be taught. I just did what needed doing." "That's what I mean." Margaret patted her hand. "Will you come back tomorrow?" Mara nodded. "I'll be here." And she was. Every evening for the next 4 days, Mara showed up and helped serve meals. She chopped vegetables, stirred pots, washed dishes, spoke gently to everyone who came through. It didn't pay anything, didn't solve her problems, but it reminded her of who she was, and who she wanted to be. On the 4th evening, as meal service was winding down, and Mara was wiping tables, the front door opened. A woman stumbled in, soaking wet despite no rain, shaking, hair plastered to her face, eyes red and swollen. Mara looked up, and her heart stopped. It was Clara. For a moment, neither moved. Mara stood frozen with a dish rag, and Clara stood in the doorway, looking like she'd walked through hell. Clara's chef's whites were gone, replaced by jeans and a wrinkled t-shirt hanging loose. Her dark hair, usually in that severe bun, hung limp. Her eyes were hollow, rimmed with dark circles. She looked broken. "Clara." Mara's voice barely a whisper. Clara's eyes focused on her, and something flickered. Surprise, shame, something raw and desperate. Then her knees buckled. Mara moved without thinking, crossing the room, and catching Clara before she hit the floor. The woman was trembling violently. "I've got you," Mara said. "Margaret, I need help." Margaret appeared, took one look, and sprang into action. Together they guided Clara to a folding chair, and wrapped her in a blanket kept for homeless guests. "I'll get hot tea," Margaret said, squeezing Mara's shoulder before disappearing. Mara knelt in front of Clara, who was staring at nothing, hands clutching the blanket, so tight her knuckles were white. "Clara, what happened? Are you hurt?" For a long moment,
Silence. Then voice so quiet, Mara had to lean in. I lost my keys. I've been walking for hours. I didn't know where else to go. Lost your keys to what? To my car. Clara's laugh was bitter and broken. Which is also where I've been living for the past 2 months. Mara felt punched in the stomach. What? Clara finally looked at her, pain in her eyes staggering. My husband left me, took everything. The house, the savings, filed for divorce and disappeared. I couldn't afford rent, so I've been sleeping in my car, in the Harbor Haven parking lot, showering in the staff bathroom, before anyone arrives. Her voice cracked. I've been so careful, no one knew. If Helen found out, I'd lose my job. I'd have nothing. Mara's mind reeled. Clara, sharp, cold, competent Clara, had been homeless this entire time, living in her car, pretending everything was fine. Margaret returned with tea, pressing the mug into Clara's shaking hands. Drink this, dear, slowly. Clara took a sip, teeth chattering against the rim. Mara sat back, trying to process. All this time she'd thought Clara hated her, was jealous, and Clara had been fighting her own desperate battle to survive. Clara, Mara said gently, why are you here? At St. Mark's, Clara's eyes filled with tears. I didn't know where else to go. I lost my car keys. I think they fell out. I've been walking for hours, trying to find them, and she gestured helplessly. I saw the lights, I saw people being fed, and I thought maybe I could just sit down, just rest. She looked at Mara then, really looked, and the shame on her face was painful. I didn't know you'd be here, Clara whispered. I wouldn't have come. I don't deserve your kindness, not after what I did. Mara's throat tightened. What did you do, Clara? Clara closed her eyes, tears streaming now. The salad greens, they were bad. I knew they were bad that morning. I checked them early, before anyone arrived, and I could see they were starting to turn. I should have thrown them out. I should have told someone. Her voice dropped to barely a whisper. But I saw you come in, and I put them back. I let you use them. The confession hung in the air. Why? Mara asked, though she thought she knew. Because I hated you. Clara's voice was raw with self-loathing. I hated that Helen hired you on the spot, when I'd clawed my way into that job. I hated that everyone loved you. Sam, Linda, the residents, even Mr. Hayes, who hadn't spoken in months, opened up to you. And Ella. Clara's voice broke. Ella adored you, and all I could think was why her? Why does everyone love her when I've been there for 3 years and no one sees me? She sobbed. So when I saw those greens were bad, I let you use them. I let people get sick. I let you take the blame. She looked up at Mara, face wet with tears. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I destroyed your life, because I was jealous and bitter and angry at the world for being so unfair to me. And now I've lost everything anyway. My husband's gone. I'm homeless, and the one person who might have shown me kindness. She gestured at Mara. I tried to destroy her. For a long time neither spoke. Then Mara said quietly, you have to tell Helen. I know, tomorrow, I know. Clara's voice was small. I'll lose my job, but I deserve to. I deserve all of this. Mara looked at Clara, broken, ashamed, but finally honest. And despite everything, she felt something unexpected. Pity, and maybe even the beginning of forgiveness. She thought about the bracelet on her wrist. I believe in you. She thought about her mother's words. If you live kindly, life will find a way back to you. She thought about what it meant to choose kindness, even when someone had hurt you. Especially then. You can stay at my place tonight, Mara heard herself say. Clara's head snapped up. What? My boarding house. I have a floor. You can sleep there, but tomorrow you make it right. Clara stared at her, disbelief and shame, and something like hope warring on her face. Why would you help me, after what I did? Mara met her eyes. Because someone has to start the healing. And because I think you've been punished enough by life already. Fresh tears spilled down Clara's cheeks. I don't deserve this.
Maybe not, but I'm offering it anyway. Mara stood and held out her hand. Come on, let's get you warm and safe. Tomorrow we fix what's broken. Clara took her hand, and Mara helped her to her feet. Margaret watched from the kitchen doorway, a soft smile on her face. They walked back to the boarding house in silence. Mara gave Clara dry clothes, made her tea, and waited. Eventually Clara spoke. When my husband left, I felt like I'd disappeared, like I didn't matter, like no one would even notice if I was gone. She clutched the tea mug. And then you showed up, and everyone noticed you immediately, and I hated you for it, for being everything I couldn't be. I understand, Mara said softly. How can you understand? I tried to ruin you. I understand because I felt invisible too. I felt like nothing I did mattered, like the world didn't see me. Mara paused. But the thing is, Clara, being seen isn't about making people notice you, it's about seeing other people, really seeing them. Clara looked at her, something shifting in her expression. Tomorrow, Mara said, you're going to tell Helen the truth. All of it, and whatever happens after that, at least you'll be honest. At least you'll be able to look at yourself in the mirror again. Clara nodded slowly. Will you come with me? Mara thought about it. Yes, I'll come. Thank you. Clara's voice was barely audible. I don't know why you're being kind to me, but thank you, because that's who I choose to be. Mara said simply, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. She gave Clara a blanket and pillow, turned out the light, and lay in her own bed, staring at the ceiling. Tomorrow would change everything. Again, but tonight she'd chosen kindness over revenge, compassion over anger, and somehow, despite everything, that felt like enough. The next morning, Mara and Clara walked to Harbor Haven together. Clara looked terrified, but determined. She'd washed her face, pulled her hair back, put on the cleanest clothes she had. She looked like someone preparing to face judgment, which Mara supposed she was. They arrived at 9. Marcus looked surprised to see them both, especially together, but he waved them through without comment. Helen's office door was open. She was at her desk, reviewing paperwork, and looked up when they entered. Mara. Helen's face lit up, then confusion crossed it when she saw Clara. Clara, what's going on? Mrs. Ward. Clara said, her voice shaking but clear. I need to tell you something, about the food poisoning incident. Helen set down her pen slowly. All right, I'm listening. Clara took a deep breath. The salad greens were contaminated, and I knew it. I checked them that morning, saw they were turning, and I should have thrown them out immediately, but I didn't. She paused, forcing herself to continue. I put them back in the refrigerator and let Mara use them. I knew what would happen. I wanted it to happen. The silence in the office was deafening. Helen stood slowly, her expression unreadable. You're telling me you deliberately allowed contaminated food to be served to our residents? Yes, ma'am. And you let Mara take the blame? Yes, ma'am. Clara's voice broke, but she didn't look away. There's no excuse for what I did. I was jealous and bitter, and I took it out on someone who didn't deserve it. On residents who trusted us. I'm sorry doesn't even begin to cover it, but I'm so deeply sorry. Helen looked at Mara. Did you know about this? Not until last night. Clara told me everything. I asked her to come here and tell you the truth. Helen sat back down, processing. Her face cycled through emotions, anger, disappointment, concern. Finally she looked at Clara again. Why are you telling me this now? Because Mara showed me kindness I didn't deserve. Clara said simply, because I've been lying and hiding for so long that I forgot what it felt like to be honest, and because if I lose my job, which I know I will, at least I'll lose it for telling the truth instead of living with another lie. Helen was quiet for a long moment, then she said, Clara, I'm going to have to let you go. What you did put our residents at risk, violated every protocol we have, and damaged the trust that's essential to this place. I understand, Clara whispered. But Helen continued, and both women looked up in surprise. I'm also going to make some calls. I have contacts at other facilities, and I know you're a talented chef when you're not sabotaging your colleagues. I can't keep you here, but I can help you find another position somewhere else. If you want that help. Clara's eyes filled with tears. Yes please, thank you. Helen turned to Mara. The health department finished their investigation yesterday. They confirmed the greens were contaminated. Coli from improper storage at the supplier's warehouse. You're completely cleared. I was going to call you this afternoon to ask you to come back. Relief washed over Mara so powerfully she had to sit down. But I want to offer you something more. Helen continued. I've been thinking about starting a new program here. Something that connects our residents with the community. Activities, music, visits from local kids. I want to call it Heart Hours. She smiled at Mara. and I want you to run it. Me?" Mara's voice came out as barely a whisper. "You have a gift for connecting with people, Mara. I've seen it with Mr. Hayes, with Ella, with everyone you meet. I need someone who leads with heart. That's you." Mara felt tears prick her eyes. "I don't know what to say." "Say yes." For the third time, Mara said the word that would change her life. "Yes." Helen smiled, warm and genuine. "Welcome back, Mara." Officially, Clara gathered her things from the kitchen that afternoon. Mara helped her, and they worked in companionable silence. "I'm moving into a women's shelter," Clara said quietly as she packed her knives. "Margaret at St. Mark's helped me find a spot. It's temporary, but it's a start." "That's good," Mara said. "And Helen already called 2 facilities. I have interviews next week." Clara looked at Mara. "I don't expect you to forgive me, but I want you to know what you did, helping me when you had every reason not to. It changed something in me. I'm going to try to be better, to be more like you." "Don't be like me," Mara said gently. "Just be honest. Be kind when you can. That's enough." Clara nodded, then impulsively hugged her. Mara hugged back. When Clara left Harbor Haven for the last time, Mara watched her go and felt something unexpected, hope for both of them. The first Hard Hours event was 2 weeks later, on a Sunday afternoon in early spring. The dining room had been transformed, tables pushed to the edges, chairs in a circle, a small keyboard set up in the corner. Ella had helped decorate, hanging paper flowers from the ceiling, and placing bowls of candy on tables. A dozen residents sat in the circle, and a handful of children from the local elementary school sat with them. At first everyone was shy, kids uncertain, residents stiff, but then Mara sat at the keyboard and started to play, "You Are My Sunshine." The kids giggled, the residents smiled. "My only sunshine." Mr. Hayes, in his usual spot by the window, looked up, and then slowly, he started to sing. His voice was thin and wavering, but it was there. "You make me happy when skies are gray." One by one, others joined in. The kids, the residents, even Ella, sitting on her mother's lap in the back. "You'll never know, dear, how much I love you." By the final line, the whole room was singing, "Please don't take my sunshine away." When the song ended, perfect silence. Then Mr. Hayes started clapping. Everyone else followed. Mara looked around the room at the smiling faces, the light streaming through windows, the warmth and connection, and felt something she hadn't felt in years: peace. After the event, Helen pulled Mara aside. "You've given this place a soul," she said, eyes shining. "Thank you." Mara shook her head. "I'm just doing what feels right." "That's exactly why it works." Spring arrived in full force, painting Seattle in green and gold. Mara woke early, as always, but this time not from anxiety, just habit, a good one. She dressed in the soft dawnlight, brewed coffee in the small kitchen, and carried her cup to the window. From her third-floor room, she could see the city stirring. Early joggers, delivery trucks, the first rays of sunlight, touching building tops. It was beautiful. She pulled out her mother's journal, and opened it to the familiar page. "If you live kindly, life will find a way back to you." She ran her fingers over the words, and for the first time, she didn't read them with doubt. She read them with understanding. It hadn't been easy or quick, but kindness had brought her here to this moment, to this life. She closed the journal, and tucked it into her bag. Harbor Haven was quiet when Mara arrived, morning light filtering through tall windows. She walked through hallways she knew by heart, greeting the night staff, waving to residents already awake. In the garden, a small group was doing morning exercises, gentle stretches, slow walks along stone paths. Mara paused to watch, heart full. This was home now. She continued to her office, a small room behind the main hall, with a desk, bookshelf and bulletin board covered in photos from Hard Hours events. Pictures of residents and children laughing together, of Mr. Hayes at the keyboard, of Ella holding hands with Mrs. Callahan during a sing-along. Mara sat and opened her planner, reviewing the week. Another Hard Hours event Thursday, a visit from the high school choir Saturday, a one-on-one with Mr. Ortiz, who wanted to learn checkers, a knock on the door. "Come in." Helen entered, carrying 2 cups of coffee. She handed one to Mara, and sat across from her. "Good morning," Helen said with a smile. "Morning." Comfortable silence while they sipped coffee. Then Helen set her cup down. "I wanted to talk to you about something."
The board was so impressed with Heart Hours, they've asked me to expand it. More events, more community outreach, but I can't do that without the right person leading it. She paused. I want you to take on a management role. Officially, you'd oversee all community programming, hire volunteers, work with local organizations. Mara's chest tightened. A few months ago, she'd been sitting in a bus station with $73, wondering if she'd survive the week. You don't have to answer now, Helen said gently. Take time, think about it. Mara shook her head. I don't need time. Helen raised an eyebrow. Mara looked down at her mother's journal in her bag. She thought about her father, her mother, the long road that led her here. She looked back up at Helen and smiled. I'm right where I need to be, she said softly. Yes, I'll do it. Helen's face broke into a wide smile. Thank you, Mara. They talked for a while longer about plans and logistics, but eventually Helen left for a meeting, and Mara was alone again. She stood and walked to the window, looking out over the garden. The residents were finishing their exercises, chatting as they made their way back inside. Mrs. Callahan waved up at her, and Mara waved back. She thought about how far she'd come, how much she'd lost, and how much she'd found. Kindness hadn't just brought her to this place, it had brought her home. That afternoon, Mara was in the hallway, when she heard familiar footsteps running toward her. Mara, Mara! She turned just in time to catch Ella, who launched herself into Mara's arms with a squeal. Hey sweetheart. Mara laughed, lifting her up. What are you doing here? Mommy said I could come visit after school. Can we go see Mr. Hayes? I made him a picture. Of course we can. They walked together to the common room, where Mr. Hayes was sitting by the window. When he saw them, he smiled. There's my sunshine, he said warmly. Ella giggled and ran over, holding out her drawing, a colorful picture of the sun with a smiling face. I made this for you. Mr. Hayes took it carefully, hands trembling slightly. It's beautiful, Ella. Thank you. He looked up at Mara, and something passed between them, an unspoken understanding, shared gratitude. Want to sing with us, Mr. Hayes? Mara asked. He nodded. I'd like that. Ella climbed onto the chair next to him, and Mara sat on the other side. Together the three of them started to sing. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. Around the room, other residents began to join in. Then staff members, even Sam, passing by with a tray, added his voice. You make me happy when skies are gray. The song filled the room, lifting and light, wrapping around everyone like a warm embrace. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Mara looked around at the faces, the smiles, the sense of belonging, and felt a deep quiet joy settle in her chest. Please don't take my sunshine away. That evening, as the sun set over Seattle, Mara stood in the garden at Harbor Haven. The sky was painted in pink and orange, and the air smelled of blooming jasmine. She pulled out her mother's journal one last time, opening to the page she'd read so many times. If you live kindly, life will find a way back to you. She traced the words with her finger, then turned the page. The next page was blank, clean and waiting. Mara pulled a pen from her pocket, and thought for a moment. Then in careful handwriting, she wrote, Mom, you were right. It took me a long time to understand, but I see it now. Kindness isn't weakness. It's not something you give away and lose. It's something that grows in you, and in the people around you. I've lost so much, but I've also found more than I ever thought possible. I'm home now, not because of where I am, but because of who I've become. Thank you for teaching me. She closed the journal, and held it against her chest for a moment, feeling the weight of it, the history, the love, the legacy. Then she tucked it back into her bag, and walked inside. The next morning, Mara arrived at Harbor Haven, just as the sun was rising. She unlocked the front door, stepped inside, and breathed in the familiar scent: coffee brewing, fresh flowers in vases, life being lived fully and kindly. She walked through the hallways, turning on lights, greeting early risers. She stopped by the common room, where the piano sat waiting. She ran her fingers over the keys, not playing, just feeling. Behind her, footsteps. She turned to find Helen and Ella. Good morning, Helen said. Good morning. Ella ran forward, and hugged Mara's legs. Are we doing Heart Hours today? Mara laughed. Not today, sweetheart, but soon. Okay. Ella skipped off toward the garden, pink jacket bright against the morning light. Helen stepped closer. You look happy. Mara smiled. I am. Good. Helen paused. You know, when I first hired you, I thought I was just filling a position, but you've done so much more. You've reminded all of us what this place is supposed to be. Mara shook her head. I'm just doing what feels right. I know, Helen said softly, and that's exactly why it matters. She squeezed Mara's shoulder and walked away. Mara stood there for a moment, surrounded by morning light, and felt deep peace settle over her. This was where she belonged, not because she'd fought for it, or demanded it, or earned it through some grand gesture, but because she'd lived kindly, and life, slowly but surely, had found its way back to her. Later that morning, Mara received a call from an unfamiliar number. Hello, is this Mara Bennett? The voice was older, formal. Yes, this is she. My name is Richard Pembroke. I'm an attorney handling your father's estate. Mara's heart skipped. My father's estate, but he didn't have. Actually, he did. There was a life insurance policy he kept current all these years. It's finally cleared probate. The total is just over $40,000. Mara sat down slowly. 40,000, yes, I'll send paperwork this week, but I wanted to call personally. Your father left a letter with the policy. Would you like me to read it? Yes, Mara whispered. Please. Rustling of paper. Then Mr. Pembroke began to read. Dear Mara, if you're hearing this, I'm gone. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you about this in person. I've been saving this money for years, just small amounts, whatever I could spare. I wanted you to have something, not because I thought you'd need it to survive, but because I wanted you to have choices. You've spent so much of your life taking care of others, your mother, me, everyone around you. You have the biggest heart of anyone I've ever known. Use this money however you want. Travel, rest, dream, whatever makes you happy, but know this: I'm proud of you, not because of what you do, but because of who you are. Live kindly, sweetheart. Your mother was right about that. All my love, Dad. Mara couldn't speak. Tears streamed down her face. Miss Bennett, are you all right? Yes, she managed. Yes, thank you for calling. She hung up and sat there, her father's words echoing. Live kindly, sweetheart. She thought about the money, enough to change everything, to give her security, to open doors. But she didn't feel the urge to leave. She didn't feel the need to chase something else. She felt grateful, and settled, and whole. That afternoon, during hard hours, Mara watched as Mr. Hayes taught children how to play chess. His hands were steadier, his eyes brighter. He laughed when one of the kids knocked over pieces. Across the room, Sam was helping Mrs. Callahan bake cookies with twin girls from the neighborhood, and in the corner, Ella sat with residents, reading them a picture book in her high, clear voice. Mara stood in the doorway, watching it unfold, and felt a wave of gratitude so strong, it nearly overwhelmed her. This was what mattered, this connection, this kindness, this quiet, steady love. Helen appeared beside her. Penny for your thoughts. Mara smiled. Just thinking about how lucky I am. Helen looked at her knowingly. You earned this, Mara. Maybe, Mara said, but I also think some things just find you, when you're ready. Helen didn't argue, she just smiled and walked away. As the sun began to set, Mara stayed behind to clean up. She wiped tables, straightened chairs, turned off lights, but before she left, she walked to the piano, and sat down. She played softly, just for herself, the familiar melody filling the empty room. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. She thought about her mother, about her father, about the long winding road that had brought her here. You make me happy when skies are gray. She thought about Ella, and Helen, and Mr. Hayes, and all the people who had become her family. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. And she thought about kindness, not as something fragile or naive, but as something powerful, something that healed, something that endured. Please don't take my sunshine away. She finished the song, and sat in the quiet for a moment, hands resting on the keys. Then she stood, picked up her bag, and walked toward the door. As she stepped outside into the cool evening air, she paused, and looked back at the building, at the warm lights glowing in windows, at the place that had become her home. She smiled, and then she walked forward, into the fading light, carrying hope, not as something fragile, but as something earned, something real, something hers. The paper bracelet on her wrist caught the last rays of sunlight, bright and colorful, and permanent. You saved me, I believe in you, and she had, and they did. And that, Mara thought as she walked home through the streets of Seattle, was more than enough. It was everything.
Join us to share meaningful stories by hitting the like and subscribe buttons. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell to start your day with profound lessons and heartfelt empathy.